Once you've had a revolution, what do you do with it? And what does it feel like to be inside it? In 1992, Moscow flea markets overflowed with answers to these questions. A year after the Soviet Union collapsed, people sold whatever they could find in their apartments. Ration cards, war medals, old perfumes. These objects showed what Soviet life was actually like, how it fed itself, who prospered, even what an ordinary Tuesday afternoon felt like. For almost 50 years, those afternoons unfolded behind the Iron Curtain. There, daily life took specific shapes. Hours waiting for bread and years for an apartment, yes, but also subsidized ballet tickets everyone could afford, and Black Sea vacations that factory workers took every summer. Tonight, we explore what 70 years of communism look like from the inside. We'll follow the traces left by hundreds of millions of people who lived inside a system that reinvented what it meant to be human. We'll see how they ate, worked, and loved, while history itself was being rewritten around them. By the end, you'll understand a way of life that shaped half the world. This is the story of everyday life in the USSR. Chapter 1. The Great Soviet Sell-Off. Moscow, 1992. Izmailovsky Park on a Saturday morning. The frost hadn't lifted yet, your breath hanging in the air between makeshift stalls. This flea market was the great Soviet sell-off, where an entire civilization was being dismantled, one transaction at a time, its relics spread out on folding tables and tarps on the frozen ground. The people doing the selling were a unique breed of human, Homo Sovieticus. Their state had been their entire cosmos, blocking out everything else. They were a people built for war and sacrifice, for a collective we that gave their lives meaning. They understood a lexicon of words like liquidate and execute, but they had no words for profit margins, no understanding of the market that had suddenly become their reality. Overnight, their world had been covered in banks and billboards. The signs that once promised, "Our future is communism," now screamed, "Buy now!" Freedom, it turned out, was not an ideal. It was consumption. It was money. And so they stood here in the cold, selling the pieces of their former lives, utterly bewildered. No one had taught them how to be free. They had only ever been taught how to die for freedom. In a cardboard box, you could find the nation's soul, a mountain of red flags and party membership cards, and the war medals, an Order of Lenin, the highest honor, for $100, a medal for valor for 20. When someone asked the seller about his conscience, he just shrugged from inside his thin coat. "Are you nuts? What rock have you been living under? These are relics from the era of totalitarianism." A former professor stood shivering behind his life's collection of books, a former ballet dancer selling her costumes from the Kirov. Two soldiers with a crate of gas masks, manufacture date 1981. By noon, the market covered several acres. Someone had set up a gramophone and was playing old Red Army choir recordings. The music drifted over the stalls, tinny and strange in the winter air. What does it mean when a civilization's most sacred objects end up spread on tarps in a muddy field? When a hero of socialist labor medal sits in a cardboard box next to broken watches and mismatched spoons? The sellers knew, the buyers knew, everyone knew, but nobody said it out loud. This was the real end. Not the flag coming down from the Kremlin on December 25th, but this, 1,000 small surrenders. All of it for sale, all of it negotiable, all of it turning into rent money or bread money or money for a train ticket to somewhere else. The sun never really came out that day. The market kept going until dark. Tomorrow there would be more sellers, more objects. Someone had dragged an old industrial sewing machine to sell its metal plate stamped with Cyrillic letters and a serial number, made in Magnitogorsk, 1952. The seller didn't know that city had once been Stalin's greatest construction site, built from nothing in the frozen steppe. The machine was just another heavy thing to haul home if nobody bought it by closing time. Chapter 2. Forging Magnitogorsk. 1,200 kilometers east of Moscow, where the Ural steppe stretches toward Asia, there's a city that shouldn't exist, Magnitogorsk. Before 1929, this was empty grassland where nomads grazed their horses. The wind blew uninterrupted for thousands of kilometers. Then Stalin decided to build his Pittsburgh here, in the middle of nowhere. The decree came on January 17th, 1929. Build the world's largest steel complex. Make more steel than Britain. Do it in 5 years. But this was more than a construction project. The entire decade was declared a heroic age. The official songs boasted about taming space and time, about becoming the young masters of the earth. The immense hardship of the present was an acceptable sacrifice for a guaranteed, radiant future. Everyone was building socialism, a new world forged from steel and will. The first 256 workers arrived that March, stepping off the train into a wilderness. Soon, they were joined by thousands of others. Many were young Komsomol members, the communist youth, arriving with a powerful sense of mission. They saw themselves as fighters, pioneers declaring war on Russia's ancient backwardness. One young activist felt the entire country's transformation depended on the physical exertions of people like himself. They believed they were personally building a new civilization. Others came for different reasons. For millions of peasants fleeing the famine and chaos of collectivization, Magnitogorsk was an escape route. In the cities, you could get a job, a wage, and a ration card. You could learn a trade. More than 10 million peasants moved to towns during the first 5-year plan alone. For them, the city meant a chance at education, a burning desire to study. By summer 1931, 40,000 people were living there. The steppes had to be beaten down, the official newspapers said. Nature itself was the enemy. What the new arrivals found was chaos. John Scott, an American welder who came to help build socialism, recorded the scene. Imported American machinery sat rusting because nobody knew how to operate it. Workers mixed concrete by hand. The workforce was everyone Stalin's revolution had churned up. Enthusiastic volunteers